Have you ever pondered over the possibility of being romantically involved with a humanoid robot? A strange question, isn't it? But in this era of rapid technological growth, it's not as far-fetched as it might sound. When we speak of humanoid robots, we're not talking about your everyday run-of-the-mill vacuum cleaner bot. Oh no, we're talking about something far more sophisticated. We're talking about robots designed to mimic human appearance and behavior, robots that could potentially serve not just as our assistants, but also as our companions. Now you might be thinking, hold on a minute, robots as romantic partners? Surely you jest. But let's take a moment to consider it. The advancements in artificial intelligence and robotics have been nothing short of extraordinary. Machines today can learn, adapt, and even exhibit emotions. Yes, you heard it right, emotions. Robots that can laugh at your jokes, sympathize with your problems, and maybe even cry at the end of a heartbreaking movie. So, is it really that much of a leap to consider the possibility of emotional and, dare we say, romantic relationships with these humanoid robots? But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We're not suggesting you go out and propose to the first robot you see. After all, as of now, the most advanced robots are still far from being the perfect romantic partners. They can't yet understand the complexity of human emotions or the nuances of personal relationships. However, we can't ignore the fact that the line between humans and robots is gradually blurring. And this isn't just about whether robots can make better partners than humans. After all, a robot won't forget your anniversary or eat the last piece of chocolate in the fridge without asking. Now, this opens up a whole new world of ethical dilemmas, doesn't it? So, buckle up, because we're about to delve into the fascinating and somewhat controversial world of humanoid-robot relationships. Could a robot be your ideal partner, always at your beck and call, or does this raise some ethical eyebrows? As we delve into the second part of our discussion, we're diving headfirst into the deep waters of ethics, consent, and autonomy in the realm of humanoid-robot relationships. Let's first tackle the issue of consent. In human relationships, consent is a two-way street, a mutual agreement, a shared understanding. But when it comes to robots, the waters get a bit murkier. After all, a robot is designed to follow instructions, to serve its human owner. Can a robot truly give consent, or is it merely following its programming? And then there's the question of autonomy. A robot is essentially a machine built and programmed by humans. It doesn't have the free will, the agency that we humans do. So can we really consider a relationship with a robot as a relationship between equals? This brings us to the potential for exploitation. If a robot is always at our beck and call, always ready to do our bidding, doesn't it become the ultimate yes man? And isn't there a danger of us exploiting that willingness, that obedience? After all, a yes man might make our lives easier, but it doesn't necessarily make for a healthy relationship. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, but what if the robot is designed to say no sometimes, to mimic a real human relationship? Well, that's a fair point, but remember, even if a robot is programmed to say no, it's still just that, a program. It's not a genuine expression of will or desire. It's a pre-programmed response, not a truly autonomous decision. So, as we navigate these uncharted waters, we must ask ourselves some difficult questions. We need to consider the ethical implications of our actions, and we need to be mindful of the potential for exploitation. And so we're left with a question that's as complex as it is intriguing. Could a robot ever truly consent to a relationship? As we continue to explore the fascinating world of humanoid-robot relationships, it's a question we'll keep coming back to. Can a robot cheat on you? Or is it just following its programming? Now, that's a question that might make you chuckle, but let's delve a bit deeper into this fascinating conundrum. In the landscape of humanoid-robot relationships, the idea of fidelity becomes somewhat murky. Now, before you scoff, remember that we're in the realm of the sophisticated and the witty here. No room for hasty judgments. You might be thinking, a robot can't cheat, it doesn't have feelings, and you'd be correct. Technically, a robot doesn't possess emotions or personal desires. It can't experience the thrill of secret rendezvous or the guilt of betrayal. It simply follows its programming, whether that's making your morning coffee or, dare we say, engaging in a romantic endeavor. But here's where it gets interesting. Even if a robot doesn't feel, it can still cause emotional pain to its human partner. Imagine coming home to find your humanoid companion engaging in a romantic dinner with your neighbor. Sure, it's just following its programming, but that doesn't make the situation any less heartbreaking, does it? Add to this the fact that humanoid robots are designed to be as human-like as possible. They can hold conversations, understand human emotions, and even mimic them. This level of sophistication can easily lead to emotional attachment from their human counterparts. And where there's attachment, there's the potential for heartbreak. So, in an ironic twist, robots could potentially be the biggest heartbreakers of all. Not because they're cruel or deceitful, but rather because they're incapable of understanding the very concept of cheating. They're just doing what they're programmed to do, oblivious to the emotional turmoil they might be causing. But hey, look on the bright side, at least you wouldn't have to worry about them lying about it. They're not programmed for deceit after all. Who knew heartbreak could come in the form of cold, hard silicon? Is a robot designed to do anything you command a servant or a partner? Now, isn't that a question to ponder? Let's dive into the power dynamics that come into play in humanoid-robot relationships. You know, those fascinating, intricate, and occasionally unnerving ties we humans might form with our metal counterparts. Imagine a scenario where you're in a relationship with a humanoid robot. It's programmed to cater to your every whim, to obey your every command. Now, some might argue that's the dream, right? Your very own personal assistant, your perfect servant. But others might raise an eyebrow at this. Could this really be considered a partnership? A relationship? A relationship typically implies mutual respect, shared decision-making, and a balance of power. But when one party is programmed to obey the other, is it not more akin to a master and servant dynamic? Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not suggesting that having a robot partner is akin to being an evil overlord, though it does sound like the ultimate power trip, doesn't it? But, all jesting aside, this could present an ethical conundrum. If a robot is designed to do anything you ask, is there not a potential for exploitation? Could it lead to a disregard for consent or even breed a sense of entitlement in human partners? The question isn't just about whether a robot can be a perfect partner, but whether it's ethically sound to have such an imbalance in power. Of course, there's the possibility of programming mutual respect and decision-making into our humanoid friends, but then we're back to the drawing board, aren't we? If we program a robot to make decisions, to have a say in the relationship, does that not contradict the very concept of a servant? It's a complex issue, one that we're only beginning to grapple with as technology continues to advance at an astonishing rate. It seems the line between a servant and a partner could get a little blurry with a robot in the mix. But as we navigate this brave new world, we must remember to ask ourselves, are we looking for the perfect servant or the perfect partner? What does the future hold for human-robot relationships? As we gaze into the crystal ball of technology, we can't help but marvel at the possibilities. Imagine a world where humanoid robots become an integral part of our social fabric. They're not just machines anymore, they're companions, confidants, even potential love interests. But with this new form of relationship comes a whole host of ethical, legal, and societal implications. In the future, we may see laws and regulations cropping up to manage these unconventional relationships. Just as we have laws governing human-to-human relationships, there may be legal frameworks for human-robot interactions. These could range from ensuring the ethical treatment of robots to defining the rights and responsibilities of both parties in a human-robot relationship. The societal implications are just as fascinating. How would society react to these relationships? Would they be accepted or frowned upon? Would they redefine what we consider a normal relationship? These are questions that we may need to grapple with sooner than we think. But let's not forget the potential benefits. For those struggling with loneliness or social anxiety, humanoid robots could offer companionship without judgment or pressure. For the elderly, they could provide much-needed assistance and company. The potential for positive impact is immense. And what about love? Could we genuinely fall in love with a machine? If a robot can learn to understand and emulate human emotions, it might not be such a far-fetched idea. Love, after all, is about connection, understanding, and acceptance. If a robot can provide these, who's to say it can't be a valid partner? Now, let's end on a humorous note. Imagine future wedding ceremonies officiated by a robot priest. The vows might be a little different, though. Instead of "till death do us part," it might be "till low battery do us part." And when the robot priest asks the humanoid robot, "Do you take this human to be your lawfully wedded partner?" the reply might not be "I do," but rather "I compute." In the world of tomorrow, "I do" might just mean "I compute."